Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast, The Voices. And today we'll be talking about brown people stereotypes in Canada and how they're represented in our country's media. Presented by your hosts,
Krish Patel.
and Abhishek.
I see dead people.
So Abhishek, what do you think that made you talk about this topic on the podcast today?
Well, a lot of reasons actually, but lately when I'm scrolling through Instagram, right, I would come across a large amount of videos just stereotyping brown people. For example, I see people making videos about brown people taking all the jobs in Canada, and I check the comment section on these videos, and it's just a bunch of stereotypes like brown people being smelly, they don't know how to work, and on top of that, these videos would have a bunch of like stereotypical Indian music, which we'll play for you right now. Yeah, so nowadays I feel like brown people in Canada are not having the best authentic representation in Canada. So Kush, I just want to know, like, what do you think about all this?
So me personally, I've been scrolling through a lot of Instagram like recently, and like I saw a ton of videos on them making like opinions on Indian street food, which is like kind of not very true, but it is some sort of true because some part of India do got like that type of food. But when I was in India, mostly it was not like that. It's just like mainly just like put on social media by like Canadians and stuff like that, just to downplay like Indian culture, don't want to talk about how they like advanced there back there. So that's what I think about it. And let's have a guest on our podcast. He will also tell you what he thinks of Indian representation in Canada and across the world. And now we'll be introducing our guest. You can introduce your name for ourselves, guest.
Hello, my name is Rajaman Singh Balachandran Kumar. I recently experienced very discrimination and racist marks when I was going to my Fit for Less gym. I was working out by myself, and these teenagers were looking and pointing at me and laughing at me. And when I was refilling my water bottle, I overheard them saying, "This dirty Indian needs to go back to India." Why do I have to experience racism when I work hard for my family and pay my taxes and I'm the same as every other individual in this nation?
Thank you, guests, for telling us about your experiences that you have been facing in Canada.
Okay, now we're gonna have a word from my friend Tejas, who also attends Dr. Norman Bethune.
Thank you, Abhishek. I'll talk about my experiences from coming to Canada in grade 4, where my mom used to pack me lunch back in India, but when she started to do the same in Canada also, the students in my school were saying that my food funny and all, but I feel like it really hurt me deeply at the time when I was a kid, because I'm pretty sure they meant it in a funny way, but then it didn't really feel like that at the time, and made me feel like an outsider. For the rest of my elementary and middle school, I stopped bringing my lunch and started buying food in the cafeteria itself, so I wouldn't receive bullying. Most of my stereotypical discrimination faced towards me in Canada.
Okay, thank you for our guests for speaking on their personal experiences. Now, I'd like to talk about my personal experiences as being brown in my community. And one of the main things that really annoy me in my friend group is everyone thinking just all brown people are like the same culture. We all have the same cultural beliefs, which is just simply not true. Whenever I tell my friends I'm Sri Lankan, most of the time my friends all say, "Wait, what? Isn't that basically Indian?" And I'm like, "No, there's clearly there's a difference in cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, and all that." But they don't listen. They look at me as if I said something wrong, and it's just annoying because it's like an everyday thing. Another thing that really gets on my nerves is when I find it like really annoying that other people don't respect like where my family came from and how we all are different. But like Kush, what personal experiences do you have?
Thank you, Abhishek. Like I understand what you're saying. Like kind of like stereotypes come from school too. Like for like a big stereotype that comes to me is like I have to be like good at engineering. Like my future profession has to be engineering just because I'm brown and stuff like that. And like also one more thing that happens to me, like every time like something's broken, like they say tech support, like the Kush, you're tech support, right? You could help us out real quick or stuff like that. Like I feel like that's not accurate depiction. Like what if I want to be like a doctor or like something else like that? So Abhishek, do you have any experiences like that happened to you?
Oh my god, all the time. Every time I tell my friends what career path I want to go into, which it changes time to time, but it's definitely not one of the stereotypical ones, doctor, lawyer, or engineer. I get such a weird reaction. They're like, what? Aren't you gonna disappoint your parents? Like, you have to go into these 3 professions. And I'm like, no. My parents want me to go into a respectable profession that just makes money. That's it. And I'm happy that they think that way. But I don't know why. Just because I don't want to be a certain profession, they think it's like I'm committing a sin. Like, it's not that deep. It's really annoying, and I'm just shocked how often it happens.
Thank you, Abhishek, for giving me that experience, like thoughts and stuff on it. Also, like one more thought, like I had recently was like when I was like in the tech room, right? I was trying to like learn about tech and stuff like that, just for fun, like of course because I don't have anything else to pick. So like one of the thing was broken, right? And one of my friends called me over and was like, "Yo, Kush, I know you're going for engineering stuff like because you're brown and stuff. But I know you're gonna be good at tech support and stuff like that. Can you help me out with this?" Like, yo, I said, bro, that's not cool like that. It's like it's not that deep. I'm not going for engineering. I just took this course for fun. So you could do this on I'll ask the teacher. That's like kind of the experiences I like faced with it. So Abhishek, you wanted to talk about like like what you have seen in the media and stuff like that. So what do you want to?
Yeah, so like brown people are never portrayed as like the protagonists in movies. They're always portrayed as like the weird, quirky, nerdy kids, and it's just like it's just not accurate of how we are. Like a lot of brown kids are like very athletic, very funny, very just really interesting people. But in the movies, we're just so quirky. We're just so awkward, and it's just weird. One example I can think of on the top of my head is the Dharavi and Wimpy Kid movie. A kid named Shirag, who was Indian, he was always portrayed as like so weird, awkward, had no friends, no one liked him, and as a kid it was funny, and I guess to this day it is a bit funny, but I feel like a lot of people, especially teenagers and young kids, believe that this is how brown people act, and it's just not true. Another example is Family Guy, who they're famous for stereotyping cultures and people. I remember in one episode, the main characters visited India, and to my surprise, they actually showed India as like this wasteland, all dirty, all poverty everywhere. And it's just like I'm not Indian, but I know like not all of India is suffering from poverty. There's many rich areas, and I know a lot of people are gonna actually believe this stuff because I have my friends just sending me videos on like all these stereotypical nonsense, and they're asking me, is this true? Is this how India really is? Is this how brown people really act? I'm like, no. Why would it be? Why would they be acting like this? It's just stereotypical, and it's just stupid. So Kush, what do you think?
So like heard about this show called Phineas and Ferb. One of like the characters is called Baljeet. Like Baljeet's like an Indian guy with the accent, stereotypical nerdy stuff. He knows how to make robots and stuff like that. I think that's kind of also not quite accurate. Now most people have the Indian accent and stuff like that, but they're not like all called like Baljeet and stuff. People have like regular names, English names. It just depends on what your origin and stuff like that is. So realistically, it's just media is always just shown as Indian people as like the same type, all like same people. You have no like different cultures or nothing like that. They all ride on elephants and stuff like that. So it's quite like racially stereotyped like all like in most medias, most American medias. So yeah, that's what I think about the the social media and what's happening on it. So Abhishek, now I'm gonna ask an outside perspective on this topic. Here I introduce Daniel Singh.
I think currently the media representation of brown people in Canada is actually really poor, and it's not just limited to Canada. It's like all around the world. Most of the stereotypes that I've been hearing directly from my brown friends usually center around something related to them either being engineers, scam callers, or just relatively unclean people. And it really is offensive to them, and I can see the look on their faces when they talk about it, how disgusted they are. And it's really just disappointing to see. Like, we should be better.
Thank you, Daniel Zhang, for your perspective on this topic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to yet another episode of our Voices podcast. We would like to thank you for listening. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you with our next episode next Tuesday.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. We're almost about to hit 5 billion subscribers on our YouTube channel. And plus, in the next podcast episode, we're going to have multiple guests. One of them is Mr. Beast, then City Boy JJ, and a special guest, Michael Jackson from the dead. Don't forget to tune into the podcast, and see you all next time.